아, 큰일 났네. 어, 어디요?
아, 큰일 났네. 지금 오늘 내일 해가지고 이거를 끝내겠다고 해놓고 지금 오늘 딱 한 챕터밖에 아직 끝내지 않았죠. 자, 일단 시작해 봅시다.
In the following exercises, we're going to use something that we call subject-verb-object notation.
Subject.
Now, the purpose of this notation is to give us a consistent way to phrase our activities or our events in the domain so that when we go back to them later, we can use that technique in order to extract useful information. So the way subject-verb-object notation is going to work is that if you take an example sentence such as host checks current reservations, in that case, what we are doing is we are phrasing the sentence so we have the subject first, the object last, and then the verb in the middle. So in this case, the subject is the host, and you can think of the subject as the person that is doing whatever action is being performed. So the host is doing the action. Now, what is the action? Well, the action is that the host is checking current reservations, and that breaks down into two pieces. The first is the verb, which is checks, and then the second is the object, which is current reservations. So we have host checks current reservations, which is the subject verb object notation. Now we can simplify the object. We could say it's current reservations, but we can probably say that current is really just a modifier on reservations. So at the end of the day, reservations is really the object that we're going to focus on. So that's how our subject verb object notation looks. And we are going to use that in later exercises in order to help us extract some information from the sentence.
So, subject verb annotation. This is something very short video clip. I'm gonna start one more time and
In the
then
following exercises, we're going to use something that we call subject-verb-object
object
notation.
notation.
Now, the purpose of this notation is to give us a consistent way to phrase our activities or our events in the domain so that when we go back to them later, we can use that technique in order to extract useful information. So the way subject-verb-object notation is going to work is that if you take an example sentence such as host checks current reservations, in that case, what we are doing is we are phrasing the sentence so we have the subject first, the object last, and then the verb in the middle. So in this case, the subject is the host, and you can think of the subject as the person that is doing whatever action is being performed. So the host is doing the action. Now, what is the action? Well, the action is that the host is checking current reservations, and that breaks down into two pieces. The first is the verb, which is checks, and then the second is the object, which is current reservations. So we have host checks current reservations, which is the subject verb object notation. Now we can simplify the object. We could say it's current reservations, but we can probably say that current is really just a modifier on reservations. So at the end of the day, reservations is really the object that we're going to focus on. So that's how our subject verb object notation looks. And we are going to use that in later exercises in order to help us extract some information from the sentence.
So, server interview. I greet guests at their table, help them understand the menu and make recommendations. Then take their food and drink orders. After taking their order, I input it into our customer computer system. When the order is ready, I pick it up from the kitchen or bar and deliver it to the table. When the guest is finished, I present the bill and settle at the table. At the end of the shift, I pay out my cash bills to the restaurant bundle and submit my receipt and collect my tips. Based on this interview, which of the following represent activities performed by the server? Server cooks food for customer. By the server. Server cooks food for customer. Server helps guests understand the menu. Yes, server help them understand the menu and make them. Server adds the item to the order and then take their food and drink order. After taking their order, I input it into our customer computer system. Take food to customer. Server take reservation for the customer. After taking their order, I input it into our customer computer system. When the order is ready, I pick it up from the kitchen or bar and deliver it to the table. And take food to customer. Take reservation for customer. When the guest is finished, I present the bill and then settle at the table. Collect payment. Yeah. Delivery and driver interview. I deliver for 3 locations around the city. We don't get a lot of deliveries. We are not a pizza place after all, but our wings and ribs are popular delivery options. I am on call for each of the delivery locations. If one of them gets a delivery, I get a notification on my phone. I go pick up the food for the location nearest the customer. Then I deliver the customer and deliver their food. I collect their payment if necessary. Sometimes they pay online. In that case, I don't have to do much, just to drop off the food. So which of the following represent activities performed by the driver? Driver set status flag on order to delivered. Location around the city. We don't get a lot of delivery. I am on call for each of the delivery location. Receives delivery notification. Yeah, pick up the phone. I am on call for each of the delivery locations. If one of them gets a delivery, I get a notification on my phone. Receives a delivery notification, I go pick up the food from the location nearest the customer. Pick up the food for delivery. And then I drive to the customer and deliver their food. I collect their payment if necessary. Sometimes they pay online. In that case, I don't have to do much, just drop off the food. Driver sets a status flag on order to delivered. Post interview. I answer I answer phones and record reservations. Uh, I also greet and seat guests as they arrive at the restaurant. Guests can either call or use the website to make reservations. So it is necessary for me to consult the system before I seat customers. I also need to update the reservations system when I seat customer. Wait a sec. Oh, sorry. So it is necessary for me to consult the system before I set customers. I also need to update the reservation system when I set customers so someone online can't reserve the same table. The assignment has several steps. In the first step, you will provide a response to the prompt. Um, the other steps appear below your response field. To the prompt, you can save your progress and return to complete your response at any time before the due date. Sunday, after you submit your response, you cannot edit it. What is your role in the restaurant? I answer phones and receive reservations. I also greet and sit guests as they arrive at the restaurant. Guests can either call or use the website to make reservations, so it is necessary for me to consult the system before I set customers. I also need to update the reservations system. I also need to update the reservation system when I set customers so that someone online can't reserve the same table. The assignment has several steps. In the first step, you will provide a response to the prompt. Uh, Enter your response to the prompt above. Enter your response to the prompt. What? You can save your progress. This assignment has several steps. In the first step, you will provide a response to the prompt. Provide a response. Oh. What type of response? The other steps are also. Steps. Okay, enter your response to the prompt. You can save your progress, return completely your response at any time until Sunday. The prompt for this section. First activity. Enter your response to the prompt. The prompt for this section. What does this means? First activity. Oh yeah. Answer. I answer phone and record reservation. I also greet and then sit guests as they arrive at the restaurants. And then guests can either call or use the website to make a reservation, so it is necessary for me to consult the system before I set customers. I also need to update the representation system. First activity. I answer phones. I answer phones and record reservations. I greet and sit guests as they arrive at the restaurant. After I greet and sit guests to where reservation R E S E R A. As they arrive at the restaurant. Update I update the reservation system when I see customers. Assess your response. Did you determine at least 3 activities? Your wording may vary. First, the answers form. I update the reservation. I greet and sit guests. I answer phone.
오케이. 자, 여기 하나 끝냈으니까 밥 먹고